In the moment, if we jump straight into creating our enemies, they would look exactly like our player. Same blue plane, no way to really tell them apart. That's where materials come in, allowing us to wrap different colors and images around our 3D models to differentiate them and add some variety. We won't be creating materials from scratch, as that would be its own rabbit hole. And as I've mentioned, we're focused primarily on programming, practices, and projects, the 3 Ps. But I will show you how we can create some color variations from what I've already provided. Whilst we won't be creating new materials from scratch, I do want to show you the materials that we already have. If we go into the Assets folder, Materials, as I've touched on previously with the naming conventions, we have a few things here to look at. We have 2 underscores, the water and the texture, and we have 4 underscores, which are the material instances. Which is a prefix for master material, this is where the actual shader logic happens. If we open the texture base, we won't be editing anything here, but I just wanted to show you some of the terminology and details to be familiar with. If we move over to the left-hand side of the graph here, this is very much like the blueprint graph. We can just right-click and drag around to move. The main thing that we have are 3 texture sample inputs. We've got the base color, which is our color map, the blues, the wood grain, the paint, and this is all taken from the UV map on the 3D model. We then have our normal texture, or the normal map, which adds surface detail without geometry, those bumps, rivets, panel lines, and so on, all faked by manipulating how light bounces off of the model. And the final important one is the ORM texture. In this case, this is something I've created personally, and I have a slightly different workflow. I've created this as an ORME specifically this time. This is essentially 4 grayscale images crammed into 1 texture file's RGBA channels. The main reason for this is that all of the data within them can be extrapolated through grayscale. This saves memory, and it's just a little bit easier to work with. In this case, the red channel is the ambient occlusion. This is where the light will struggle to reach. The green channel is roughness, creating a mirror smooth versus matte surface in different areas. The blue channel is metallic. This is binary. This is either metallic or not metallic. And the alpha channel is emissive, showing which parts would glow. Something which is useful to be aware of when you're working with materials is that rather than just having this spherical representation here, we can change what shows in this viewport with a handy editor trick. If we open the content drawer and go into the meshes folder, grab a mesh that you'd like to visualize with your material. In this case, that's going to be the plane hero. We don't need to do anything with this. We just need this to be selected. We can go back into the material, and Unreal's remembering what we currently have selected inside of the content drawer. We can change the representation, the visualization of our material here to be things like a cylinder, a plane, a cube, and then specifically this brick icon here. If you have a static mesh selected and we click that, it will give us a representation, a visualization of our plane or the mesh that we currently have selected in the content drawer. So this can be quite handy to visualize things and see exactly what is responsible for what when you're changing different properties and getting that immediate feedback. Next up, I want you to focus on these named nodes everywhere. These are called named reroute nodes. Instead of wire stretching across our graph, somewhat like a conspiracy theory evidence board, we can instead choose to create named connections just once, and then we can reference these absolutely anywhere inside of our shader. Completely optional. You won't always see these used in other examples, but it does again allow me to keep all of my shader logic on the left-hand side and then just call things when I need them on the right-hand side. One of those things where the tool exists, so why not use it? As I've mentioned, though, I wouldn't recommend changing anything inside of the master material unless you know what you're doing, or at the very least make a duplicate and make some tweaks in that one so you always have something to fall back on. The main reason being, the next topic we'll look at are the material instances, and the way that the instance works is driving the information directly from this master material. So if something breaks in here, then you're potentially going to break all of the instances that rely on it. So back inside of the materials folder, if you've moved around, to save a little bit of time, we can use a fairly logical starting point. We already have one plane. It has most of the textures and everything set up exactly as we need it, and that is the MI_plane player. So go ahead and grab this one, press Ctrl+D to duplicate, and rename this one to plane enemy, keeping the MI at the front. If we double click and open this, we can now start looking at material instances. We can see that this is much different from our master material. One thing to keep an eye on here is on the right-hand side in the details panel. Something I should mention, you're probably noticing patterns here. Every time we're in a panel, whether that is materials, blueprints, components, viewport, when you grab something, there's normally a details panel lingering around somewhere to give you information on what you're looking at, which is definitely one of the nice things about Unreal. When you begin learning parts of the feature sets, that transfers over to different features inside of the engine. But what I was about to say is if we look at the details panel, we have the parent being denoted here, and that is showing that this is the texture base. So we can double click into this, and this just takes us back into the material I've just been showing you around. So as I've mentioned, all of the information is coming directly from this master material. One other thing, it'd be nice to visualize the plane again. So just to recap, go back into the meshes folder, grab the plane, and then press the brick icon over here inside of the material instance. The main things that we want to change are the textures. We can see that this is very different. We don't have any of the graph or that shader information here. All of that is specifically used in the master material. Inside of the instance, what we have instead are things that I've specifically chosen to expose. All of these named big nodes here, the textures, the texture color, these are parameterized variables that I've exposed so that we can see those in the instance. So what we want to look out for, if we drop down these categories, these are all of the things I've just been showing, the exposed properties. By exposing these inside of instances, we get a really pleasant working environment where we can just make a change and we can see that update immediately. So we can do that to get our first enemy type. If we drop down this texture base color, so the color information, and we're going to search for the green enemy. I think I'll make the enemies green. I have provided a lot of different texture colors here if you wanted to expand upon this and make your own enemy types. I think I've included yellow, purple, maybe orange or red. I'm going to go for the green base color texture, and we can see that will immediately change our information of the plane. Most of the normals and the ORME textures are probably about the same, but I did export them individually per texture when I was creating them. So we may as well go ahead and grab the normal. So we're going to search for green again, and we're going to find the plain green hero, but this time we want the normal texture. And then finally, we're going to drop the ORME slot down, and we're going to search for green again, and we'll just replace this to be the hero green ORME. Okay, so just to make sure that that all lines up exactly, the models I've made inside of Blender, in case anyone was curious, and I've textured them and baked all of this information in Substance Painter. So as I've mentioned, you may see similar but slightly different workflows. It comes down to the artist and the person who's making them. The main thing to note there, though, is that we got that immediate feedback. As soon as we changed something, there was no recompiling. We saw the new texture applied to the material, which is one of the key benefits to material instances. Definitely not exclusive to that benefit, and we should always try and use material instances where possible, where things are sharing similar properties, features, and values that we can expose. So beyond textures, this will be a perfectly fine ending point if you're happy with this looking as it is. I just wanted to provide a little bit more information about material instances, what they do, and how we can use them. So some of the other properties that I've exposed here are floating point values or colors that we can directly change and override the general color or tint being applied to the material, or things like how specular the value is. So specularity is really easy to look at here. If I tick on specularity here, this allows us to edit this. And at the moment, we're at 0.5, a roughly average specularity. This is how much light is bounced back from a surface, making things look a little bit more plasticky or more like rubber, the higher the specularity goes. Generally, we don't have anything that we interact with on a daily basis that has zero specularity, so starting somewhere around about 0.3 or 0.5 is somewhat realistic. If we turn this down to 0, we get that immediate feedback and we now have a completely matte, completely non-reflective surface. If we put this all the way up to 1, then the light is bouncing back around this much, much more. So again, you can tweak features like this and try and get an idea of what you'd want yours to look like. You could also play around with things like a color mask or a color tint. So if we tick on the color mask here, essentially a percentage normalized between 0 and 1. So 0 being no masking and 1 being full masking. If we turn on the texture color, these two work together. So the color mask is masking the texture color override here. If I make this something really obvious, like a red color, and then turn the mask off by making it 100% effective, so allowing 100% of the color to come through. So I'll change this to the value 1. We now have a fully pink plane. So we can control this very easily, and the really nice thing about this is we get that immediate feedback and the immediate update when we're making these changes. If you wanted this to be a little bit more subtle, we could change the color mask to something like 0.5, and we're only allowing half of that color to come through. Take it back down to 0.2, and we're getting just a very light blue tint on top of our green plane. Turn it all the way down to 0, and we're going to have no color coming through at all. So just another thing for you to play around with, along with the different textures that you can use, and then the emissive properties work the same way. Now, I didn't have anything on here to actually make glow, like headlamps or anything like that. So the emission was more of just a way to give you different properties to play with. If I turn on emissive strength, we need to give this a value more than 0. And then if we turn on the emissive color, at the moment it's black. Now, obviously, black is just 0, 0, 0 in the RGB value. So if we multiply black by 1 or 100, we're still going to get black, which is nothing. So we need to give this a color. If we change this to something like a yellow or an orange, and we'll maybe need to increase the strength a little bit more. And this is one of those things actually where, as I was exporting different textures, some of them I realized wouldn't have any use for a texture-packed emissive channel. So if you wanted to play around with the emissive property, you're going to want to go into the ORME texture here, and we'll change this to the blue plane again. Plane hero blue. We're going to have to turn this down just a little bit. Maybe put this something more like 1 or 0.5 so it's not completely overriding the color. And you can make the whole plane glow a little bit here. So you do have control over the emissive property as well. As I've said, unfortunately, I didn't think of modeling in some headlights ahead of time, but I wanted to show off the emissive properties so you can make the whole plane glow and have fun with that. Might be useful if you wanted to animate it blowing up or something. You could have it flashing between its normal color and like a red before the explosion happens. Just an idea. Now, just to kind of help visualize what's happening here and how these textures, especially the ORME, is working, I realize that could be quite confusing. I'm just going to turn this off, and I'll set these back because I don't want to override any of these. And I'm going to turn the texture back to green for the ORME, as I know that one's been baked specifically for this color property. I just wanted to very quickly show you through the textures and what's happening. So when I say that these have been baked into different channels, if we go into the texture folder and we'll find, doesn't really matter which one to be honest, we can just find the plain blue hero. And I'm going to open up the ORME channel. So normally in most textures, colors and everything that we're seeing here are coming from the RGBA channels all being combined together at once. If you take some away, all you're going to end up with is kind of muddy, weird colors like this, where red and blue added together will obviously give us purple, red and green will give us a kind of orangey color, and so on. So we wouldn't use it this way. With the ORME process, it's a little bit different. And this is because what I've done, in the red channel, this is our ambient occlusion. So anything which is white is essentially not blocked by any other elements of the model. So the light is impacting this fully. And then anything which is going towards gray or black has some kind of occlusion from another part of the model, kind of like the underwheel fairing and things like that. And it will apply a little bit of fake shadowing there to emphasize the shadows. In the green channel, this was our roughness. So again, going from essentially a value of 0 to 1, where different areas will appear to be more rough, like these areas here are providing some kind of rough detail, whereas these are going to be much more smooth. The blue was the metallic. So again, that was either metallic or not. So these would be the front of the propeller. There are some small metal parts on the wheels and other small features like that. And then the alpha channel's been baked, and as you can see here, this is essentially the entire body of the plane has been baked into the emissive channel. So by taking this information out and multiplying this against our color properties and things like that in the material, we can manipulate specific elements of the model through our texture channels. So it's a clever way to do things. It saves on memory and it gives us a little bit more flexibility within our materials. Just a couple of other things before wrapping on this topic. If you wanted to play around with more materials, just to show you a few different ways to create different material instances. I've shown you how to duplicate our original player material. Control-D will duplicate that. If you know that you just want to make something completely new, a brand new material to play around with those, we just go to Material and we'll select this. If you already have a master material to work with and you wanted to make a fresh instance, you could right-click on the master material here, navigate up to the top here and create a new material instance. It would give you something very similar to the player plane or whatever I had previously, and it would just have some default pre-filled values. Essentially the same result. So I'll get rid of this one. I won't need to keep that. Just wanted to show you the way that you could work with these. Saying that, because it's probably one of the easier topics to get on board with, and we're not going to go much more in depth than we have here, I definitely recommend taking some time between topics to pause the videos and take a step back. Maybe create a few material instances with different colors. This would give you the option later to have a green enemy, a purple enemy, a red enemy, whatever fits your vision for the game. You could also try giving different ships different specularity values, adding a little bit of emissive property to some of them, or giving them a color tint. So if you really wanted to start learning more about the engine and really understand what's happening, take this as a small piece of homework between this topic and the next, and try to create a few custom material instances in between. But with that done, that is our material stuff kind of covered, and we're ready to go with an enemy material so we can start creating our new classes. Using material instances, we've been able to create that new variation without touching any code, using the one parent material class I've provided with a whole range of potential for material instances to come from that. Just a reminder that YouTube members will be given access to the topics at least a week or two early, and always more if they're ready and available to go. If you wanted to support the channel, then do consider hitting the join button down below, or take a look at the different Patreon tier rewards to gain access to the extended version of this project and much more. And of course, if you wanted to see me go into depth on creating these materials completely from scratch, that's another thing which would be its own entire section on the larger course that I've mentioned. So if that type of thing is of interest, and that type of course in general would be of interest to you, again, do consider signing up using the link in the description below, purely to help me gauge the level of interest and if it's going to be worth dedicating the time to create something like that.